doing before you had an online coaching business?
So I was at university. I did business marketing.
Okay. Does that help you now?
Not really. I was going to say this, like, I went to uni to try and learn about business, but now I look at it, I'm like, I was being taught business and marketing by people who have never ran a business.
I wouldn't take advice from someone who hasn't got the money I want to have, or hasn't got the success in that particular thing that I want to have. I think
knowing that you've done it and you've helped other people do it, it's like I'd be stupid to not just absorb that knowledge and go and implement. Like you say, Harry, do that, I'll go do it, and then I know that I'll get to that level because you've done it yourself.
If you're a young, inspiring online coach and you've got some limiting beliefs that need to be broken, today we have a man who's broken a hell of a lot of them and 3x'd his business over the last 12 months, Mr. Harry Knights from the UK. One of my favourite clients at Seven Figure Scaling Systems, who's absolutely crushing it. For context, Harry, what were you doing before you had an online coaching business?
So I was at university.
Okay, what did you study?
I did business marketing.
Okay. Does that help you now?
Not really. I was going to say this, like, I went to uni to try and learn about business, but now I look at it, I'm like, I was being taught business and marketing by people who have never ran a business. It's like, really, like, what was I thinking? Left uni and went into a marketing role and did it for about 3 months before transitioned full-time into coaching.
And when did you set up your online coaching business?
That was at uni. So around COVID times, we got given a lot of spare time. So I thought, right, what am I passionate about? What do I like doing? Really enjoyed my training, my nutrition, helped a few of my friends with it. And then sort of did my qualifications whilst I was at uni on the side, and then transitioned from there.
Cool. And before, if we step back even before that, like you're very close with your family and your parents, like what were you doing in terms of school, like GCSEs, A-levels, and coming out the back end of that?
Yeah, so I was very much that classic, get your GCSEs, then go and do your A-levels, then get a degree, got my master's degree, and then get a job. And I think my parents very much like, they wanted me to go down that route because like, I appreciate it now. It's like they want the best for their child, right?
They want safety.
Like, yeah, that's it. It's safety. It's like go and get that job, and at that point you're done. You work your way up the ladder, but you're comfortable, you're safe. And I think I appreciate that. That's what they wanted me to do, but it was never for me. I didn't really like it. But I always thought I'll go to uni and have that 3 years there to try and figure out what I wanted to do, because I was always into business, but I didn't know what I wanted to go into at that point. So I was like, I'll spend some time there trying to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Cool. And then learning the process.
Yeah, although it was just old school. The marketing, it's like
and like business plans.
Yeah, like none of it was really relevant to what I do now. So I'd like to actually talk to universities and be like, look, this is what marketing is nowadays, and what you're teaching now is it's not relevant anymore.
It's ironic because I say that to people when they don't want to invest in people to help them with their business, but they've got a university degree. I was like, do you realise how much that university degree cost you for 3 years?
Yeah, I did 4, and my master's was like 11 or 12k, and it's like, now I'm like, why would you not put that money into someone who's done what you want to do, and sort of show you exactly what to do to get to the level that they're at? And I don't think like I've wasted money, but because it got me to where I am now in terms of giving me that time to get my qualifications, train hard, and get myself to the position that I'm at now.
100%. I think everything happens for a reason, and even if you think about, for example, your parents trying to put you on the safer path, if they hadn't done that, that wouldn't have made you the person you are today in terms of the way you act and think. Yeah,
and I think like A-levels and uni taught me structure and routine, which I think is very, very important. And my first clients were like my friends at uni, so like getting them into shape was obviously testimonials. We know how important that is, social proof. So I wouldn't change it, and I made great friends from there. So yeah, I wouldn't change it, but you can spend your money sort of better these days in mentors and that sort of thing.
What would you do in hindsight when starting your business now, knowing what you know now, like your business has grown wildly last 12 months versus when you started?
I'd have invested in knowledge a lot earlier. I was trying to learn from YouTube, doing courses that probably didn't teach me as much as I know now from you. So I just definitely started investing in knowledge earlier in terms of getting someone who has done it, because you can just get there so much quicker. having someone who's, I think that's that saying, who's got the scars to show for the lessons they're
taking
learning,
hits,
right. And now I don't have to get those scars because someone like yourself has taken.
I've made all the stupid mistakes.
Exactly.
And I think that's what people don't understand is what you're essentially getting is two things. Like, one is you're getting your time back, but two, you're not having to deal with all the shit of things that go wrong, because someone can be like, yeah, you definitely don't need to handle that dispute rate on Stripe before your account gets shut down. I've had a Stripe account shut down. I've had like anything that can fucking go wrong. I've probably done, which is why like anything that can happen to you in your business or anyone else, like, yeah, I've had that happen. This is what I did afterwards to fix the problem.
It's like Instagram. You can't put all your eggs in that basket, right? You always got shut down. And you told me early on, get on LinkedIn and try and, you know, use that platform and use different avenues and streams rather than just Instagram. And that's a lesson you've learned and you've passed on. And now I'm bringing in income from other platforms other than just Instagram.
100%. Looking back maybe like 3-4 years ago, so we're currently in Dubai, you've been living in Marbella, you've currently got first world problems of like, where do you want to live, Dubai or Marbella? Did you ever think that was really possible for you?
No, I'd still say the first thing I thought about with my job was, right, I need to make 70% of my income from that job before I can jump into coaching. I know a lot of people say get to that level, but I was like, there's enough proof there. If I can get to 70%, then I make that transition. So as soon as I did that, took that jump, although there was some persuading the parents and everything like that. But yeah, I didn't ever think it would be at this level. To be fair, I said I'd be incredibly happy if I was making the same amount from that job.
The perspective of that as well is very interesting, right? Because you look where you are now and where, like some things we spoke about, where you're going to go. It's then interesting when you reflect and then you look back in terms of time horizon of like even how much I've seen you progress over the last 12 months. What would you say has been the biggest like inflection points, things that have changes in the business that you've done that have seen that growth?
I'd say looking to sell longer term programs, purely because as well, like when you think about it from the client perspective as well, if they've got £50 to lose, trying to sell them an 8-week program, it's not good for them. It's not healthy. So being able to, I'd never thought about charging like 12-month programs or selling 12-month programs, but when you actually think about it from a business perspective, but also from the client perspective, that's something, because I'd never had we spoke about limiting beliefs, right? That was something I never thought was possible.
I remember we first spoke about that, why would anyone do that?
Yeah.
And that's where like, and I say this to everyone, is like, it's not about the money when the first person pays for high ticket program like 3K, 3.5K or whatever. It's breaking the limiting belief of like, holy fucking shit, this works. Yeah. And then people look at me like I've created fire, because they're like, it changes everything at that point.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I remember the first call we had, you're like, right, you're changing this. And I was like, I don't know. But as soon as I did it and tried it and it worked, I was like, okay, I'll buy into everything else now at that point.
That's why I use you as an example a lot, because you're like, I'm not sure, but I'll just do it anyway. Yeah. And like the reality is, like, if we tell someone to do something, or I tell someone to do something, it's not because of like for fucking my own goodwill. It's this will work and make you money, so you should probably do this. Like, that's why I joke of like, if you don't like money, like you should probably not do that. Like the reality is that success leaves clues, and all the things that we see in a lot of volume in our own fitness business is basically like what we guide you through the path with. Why do you think some younger guys in particular are maybe afraid to try and charge higher prices or like longer programs?
I'd say if it's their client base maybe is a little bit younger, but it is just like probably a lack of belief in their ability to be able to do it. I'd say it's a lack of confidence, but also maybe not almost getting that across to the person that they're speaking to. Is like, your goals are longer term. Like, this is for you as well. Like, if you think about the phases that we can go through over the course of a year, 6 months, actually maintain the results rather than just getting them and then you've lost them after, like, you know, the classic get in shape for a holiday, right? And then like a week later it's gone. Like, let's actually get you in shape and be able to maintain it for a long period of time. But they just don't, I don't know why, there's no belief in their ability to do it, I don't think.
And I think people have a lack of belief in themselves because they don't stack enough wins in terms of like confidence is when you hold true commitments you make to yourself. Like, you say you're going to do something, you do it, you see it through. And every time someone like you say deep down, like, oh, I'm going to get up and do the work I'm supposed to do at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you don't do it. It's like a little chip at your confidence.
Yeah.
And those little chips chip away. Whereas on the other thing is like you get up and you actually do it, it then builds, you're stacking wins of confidence.
Yeah, I was really big on that. Like when I was going through the whole process of working the job while I was trying to do this, it was like I was getting up 5:30, 6, training, go to work, do my check-ins on my lunch break, go to the toilet to like write some content out, get back from work. It was like film content, you know, check-ins, onboard new clients. And I was like, look, if I don't do this, I'm telling myself I'm going to do something, and I don't do it, it's another loss, it's another mark against me. And if I keep stacking them, it's so much easier to let yourself down. And I tell my clients that as well, is like, if you say you're going to get your steps in, because the more times you don't, the easier it becomes to not do it. And like you said, the wins as well. If you're telling yourself to do something, you do it. You just stack those wins and your confidence improves.
100%. And what you said there I love is because you made time. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't have time to put into my coaching. I have time. It's like, that's fucking bullshit.
Yeah,
because like everyone has the same amount of time. It's just how you descend to allocate that time. And like, for example, before I left my job in 25th of February 2019, which I played a video at the event, it was quite funny.
That's cool.
I was like competing like the year before, and I was training twice a day and having to do fucking cardio in the morning, work all day, and then manage my fitness business. I had like 300 clients or whatever it was.
Wow.
And as I look back now, I'm like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
But like, you just figure it out, right?
Yeah.
You make it work. And I was doing the same thing you were. It's like, I'd be at work, like doing actual work in my other business and like all that type of stuff. Like, you figure it out.
Yeah, you do. You make time.
And I think with that, is there anything you found in terms of like an efficiency point of view that's helped you? And maybe not getting distracted, because I'd actually say for someone of your age, you're 24, right? That most guys who are 24 can't see the long game. They're too much like, oh, I want to go, I'm in my bear and I want to be a degenerate and live like a retard for a bit, and then I'll decide then to like work on my business. But by that point, you'll be so far down the fucking horizon, like no one could catch you.
Yeah.
What is it to think gives you that focus?
I feel like I speak to a lot of people who are ahead of me, older, and have probably made those mistakes in the past. And when I listen to a lot of podcasts and read a lot, I think it's clear that if you keep your head now and you stay focused, you can then enjoy those things later on. And I think if you try and almost get ahead of yourself now, it can come crashing down very, very quickly. And I stress out about it a lot. I get quite anxious about that sort of thing. Like, this
could end.
Yeah, it could go at some point. And it's like, right, I need to try and build that future now so I can enjoy it with my family and everyone at that point. And I think it's more that, I think it was the saying, like, action beats anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I just keep doing it, eventually, like, you're not going to be so anxious, and like, you can enjoy those things later on down the line.
It's funny you say that, because like, if you ask Chris Spimmer, for example, he's known me for a long time, I used to be fucking anxious all the time.
Yeah.
And like fucking like stressed.
Yeah.
And that's always because I'd be just paranoid about shit going wrong. And I'm still like that, but I just cover up a bit more. I'm a bit more controlled now. But the big thing is that that's good because it shows you really care, but it's just channeling that energy in the correct manner. And like, whenever I, for example, have a problem in business or something I need to deal with, like, I deal with it there and then. Because often a big mistake people make is that they procrastinate in dealing with a problem, and actually the thought of like dealing with problems actually becomes more work than just dealing with whatever the issue is.
It's like there's tough conversations you have to have. Like, you just need to bite the bullet and have that tough conversation, and then rather than pushing it back, like with anything, if you push it, you just need to just do it now. Do it as soon as you can, with fitness, with business, whatever it might be.
Well, yeah, and then off the back end of that's the compound effect of like, the decisions you make right now are going to define the rest of your life, right? And what you do in terms of your daily actions are going to take you towards your goals or away from them. And like, actually, conversation I had with a friend of mine this morning is like, the next 12 to 24 months will create generational wealth, so I'll never have to work again, because of, in my opinion, what's going to happen with the cryptocurrency markets and other stuff, which is another topic. But which is why it's like, this is game time to switch on to think about like, what's the decision-making process you need to make. And to give an example, talking about myself, I nearly bought a house this morning, which was completely against the strategy of what I'm supposed to be doing with my money in the next 4 to 6 months. And I nearly got distracted and pulled away from what I'm supposed to be doing. Yeah. But I was like, fuck, remember the plan. Like, stick to the plan and execute the plan, and you buy as many houses as you want in 12 months' time. And that's an example in terms of how easy it is to get your head turned. Because, that was a really good deal and I should buy that. But I can't do that and this. So you got to pick one.
Like you talk about that a lot. The
woman in the red dress?
The shiny object syndrome. So that might sound good, but just stay focused on what you're doing right now and don't sort of get distracted, because then you start trying to do that and this, and then they all come they don't work.
It comes tumbling down. It's you have a really good ability to focus. Where do you think that's come from?
It's hard to say. I think
because you come from a very sporting background as well. Because I remember you distinctly saying to me before you stopped playing football and your dad was going to be upset. Because he loved watching you play football. Do you think some of it's from that basis? I think because I played semi-pro football since 17, and I've played football since I was 7, and I've always been, it was weird, I've always been, when I was younger I was like the captain of the team, and I don't know if it's like, it's a team sport, and I think the position I played in as well, in defence, centre back,
like you lose focus, you concede a goal, and I think you have to be focused for that whole time. But it's hard to say like where that's really come from. It's a tricky one, that I think. I couldn't really say where that focus comes from.
I'd say the leadership thing you show from sport, I can see in the way you work in business, which is interesting, because I think that's why, in my opinion, sports is one of the best things you can do for kids, because you learn all these skills of like setting the standard for everyone else, right? Like, which if you have a business, is like the pace is going to come from the top down. That person's going to set the tone. So if they start to take their foot off the gas, other people will see that, which is an important thing to understand. With what you've done with social media, like you've got really good social media presence, really good content you put out, that didn't happen overnight and by chance. What was the first starting process you did with that?
It's funny you mention it, because I was looking back a few days ago at like the old TikToks I used to make. They were more like motivational based in the gym, like getting up early, grinding, working hard. And I remember putting that first TikTok out, and then like your mates, what are you doing? Why are you taking your top off and posting it on socials? Or it's like I was worried initially what people would think, and then when you start seeing where that actually goes and the people you're helping and how it can actually help you build your business, I was like, right, I'm just going to keep doing it and not care about what anyone thinks. But it started at uni, posting TikToks 4 a day. I remember, I think Gary Vee was very, very big on it. 4 a day, every single day. Some might do rubbish, but eventually you're going to get that one. And TikTok blew up for me, to be fair, but I haven't really touched it in the past few months. I've been really mainly focusing on Instagram and LinkedIn, but it started with TikTok, LinkedIn. And it was mainly because when I was at uni, I grasped training, nutrition, deficits, progressive overload quite quickly. But I noticed that my friends and people around me, they didn't quite understand it as much or as well. So I was like, right, maybe that's the same for other people out there. So let's start making content that can help other guys my age, go through university or still be able to make progress while still enjoying life. And it started from that, and just trying to post more knowledge and informative stuff and motivational stuff as well.
There's something interesting you mentioned there, and I don't know if this happened to you, because this is a big thing that happened to me with my business. When I first started, the way people react to me. First they ask like, why are you doing this? And then they ask, how have you done this?
Yeah, that comes later, right?
And that's the fucking best conversation, when you get people who ask, why are you doing this, Harry? Why are you doing that? Why are you not going out drinking? Why are you not doing this? And then like 12 months later, like, how have you done all this?
And I still remember it, like the final couple of years at uni, I wouldn't go out as much. Like, granted, in the first year, second 2 years at uni, I was going out a fair few times a week, but then it got to the point where I was like, right, I'm going to focus on my training, my nutrition, and this side hustle. And I did get that from friends and from people. It's like, oh, you're boring. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you coming out? And now I'm like, I thank myself for standing strong and sticking to my guns at that point. And now it is like, oh, I want to do that. I want to try and post content. I want to, do the coaching thing. And it's like, okay, well, when you were saying it a few years back and you were like having a pop at me then, it's like, well, why didn't you start then at that point rather than having a dig?
It's funny you say it, because I had the same conversations now all the time.
Yeah.
And also I see people who stalk my social media who used to take the piss out of me.
Yeah.
And it's then funny in hindsight. And I tell this story a lot, but I remember a guy distinctly at a gym I used to train at, Physique Warehouse, and I remember him proper having a fucking dig at me once. Well, not actually even to me, but to like someone else about me.
Yeah.
And then I remember like 2 years, even like maybe like 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I saw him, and like he sees you and you see him.
Yeah.
Like no one else fucking said anything about him. Like I fucking got you.
Yeah.
Like, and that is a lot of fulfillment in a weird way. And like one of the things I say to people is like, success is the greatest revenge.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you should be looking for revenge, but it's, don't let people like that hold you back from achieving your dreams. And often that can actually be the people closest to you, like your parents, for example, who are trying to protect you, who will almost like smother you so that you don't go and take the risk.
Yeah.
Because like the reality is at like 24, that if you, or 23 or 22 at the time, like if you go and try to start online coaching, it doesn't work, you go back and get a fucking marketing job, right?
Yeah.
Like,
That was my argument to them. It was like, look, I could pick up a marketing job. I've got the degree, I've got a master's in it. If I want to go and get another marketing job, I can do that. But they just wanted you to be safe. And I appreciate
was that a difficult conversation?
Yeah, it was. It went on longer than like...
How long was the conversation?
I don't know. The conversation lasted, like the actual subject was months, because I can't remember the exact times, but it was like, right, why don't you just get to Christmas? Why don't you get to this point?
Oh, they were trying to put it off.
Yeah, like your manager's saying like he's going to open up this location, and he's already spoke to you about potentially you going and dealing with that. Like the ladder, like the opportunity there, it's great. And I just knew the opportunity for this was greater, and it was tough because I've always, like, I admit I'm very much like a mummy's boy. I love my family. It was just a tough one to actually for the first time probably like go against the advice that was there. And then since then I've learned and heard so much about like you shouldn't take advice from people who aren't in a position you want to be in or have shown other people that way, right? So now I listen to like yourself and people who are in the shoes that eventually I want to get into. Not that I won't take my parents' advice, I still will, but it was that
contextual
subject.
to what the thing is.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
And I think that's an important thing. It's like, I wouldn't take advice from someone who hasn't got the money I want to have or hasn't got the success in that particular thing that I want to have. And I think I take my parents' opinion on certain things, but when it comes to like business, I wouldn't really ask them, or even like investments, I wouldn't really ask them. Like, I'll give an example. Almost to the point where like, if they told me to do it, I'd be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
Because like the way I think about it with like our parents' generation is like their old school, like normal narrative. And generally where success lies in life is doing the opposite of what everyone else would fucking do. So like if you look at, for example, look at like cryptocurrency, right? When the market's tanking is when you want to buy.
Yeah.
When your mum's talking to you about it, it's like you need to fucking sell and abandon ship.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing in terms of like with the business aspect. Like if your parents think something's a really good idea and safe, it's probably not enough of an upside to make it worthwhile.
Yeah, I think they're very risk adverse.
Yeah.
Like
it's a generational thing, right?
Yeah, and they just want what's safe and what's best for you, which I appreciate.
But I think that's even I think about you and I beat myself up sometimes. It sounds really weird because when I was like 21 to like 25, I didn't have the opportunities then because all this shit didn't really exist. Yeah. So like, and when it came, I was one of the earlier people in it to a degree. So as soon as it came around, I was like, I can see what's happening here. Like I'm in with both feet. But the perspective and opportunities you have at your age and some of the other guys you work with is wild. What would you say is the thing that you actually maybe find is the biggest limiting belief for you now? I think it's a good question.
I think I still, even though I've seen it like firsthand, the guys in the group, the potential that you can actually get to and achieve. And I still look at that and think, God, like, that would be nice, or maybe one day.
But here's some perspective for you. People look at you like that. Yeah,
and I don't look back enough and think how far I've come to show myself what's actually possible. Like, if the business is like 10x, it's like, okay, that's possible again. And it's like, but I don't ever look at that. That was the saying. It's like you climb the mountain, but you don't spend enough time to actually stop, look back, and admire the view, right? Yeah. And I don't do that enough. But if I actually do and realize how far I've come, you can then see the potential of how far you can go. And that's one of the things I'd say I'd take away from the weekend and from actually being in the mastermind is surrounding myself with these people who are well ahead of me. And it's like, it spurs me on to really think, okay, you can get there. It's not like they're Superman. They're just doing
normal
what
people.
Yeah, they are. And they're doing what you're doing, just doing it better. And I'm, okay, I've got to learn. I've got to like implement, and then eventually I can get to that level. So
here's the thought process, and I read this. It's a really good book, and I think I've told you twice already. 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah.
And one of the things they talk about in the book is like my goals get like to $1 million to $2 million a month. Is think back to your business when if you like divided by 10, so it's a 10th of where it is right now, you 10x to where you are right now, you thought that was impossible.
Yeah.
So you've really fucking done it before.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck me. I was like, I've already 10x'd once. I was like, I could do it again.
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
And for me, that just gave me a lot of perspective of like, you've done it already.
Yeah.
So it's like, why can't you do it again? It's the same game. It's just at a different level. It's like, just add a fucking comma on a zero.
Yep. Just more reps. Like you say that as well. It's just like reps, repetitions, just keep doing what you're doing. And like, eventually you'll get to that point where, okay, you've sort of got to that level, you've mastered that sort of thing, then you can then move on to like the next thing and try that. And when I see people doing it, it just makes me more confident that, okay, I can go and do that.
100%. I think that's where, when you can like I had a vision of everything I want to do, like a blurry vision. And like the business plan for 7-figure scaling systems I made in 15 minutes, like with a fucking pen and paper of like, I'm just going to do this, and then just did it.
Yeah. And
that sometimes is where the most important thing is, like, we spoke about this in another podcast somewhere else earlier, but it's not like paralysis by over-analysis in terms of like, most people fuck around and spending 6 to 12 months working out what to do, rather than like, I would have just done the thing, made a load of mistakes, course corrected, and then done it.
Yep.
So it's like, if you just start, you just figure it out. And one of the most important things I'd say with that is also having the right advice to keep you on the rails, because I have a lot of people in my network I ask people's opinions with. Some, like, probably more now than ever, like, I'll disagree with what they say sometimes, and I'll do my own thing, but I'll still get a different perspective. Because from a business point of view, it's very easy that you have cognitive bias. So like, I come up with an idea, I think it's the fucking greatest thing in the world, because it's my idea, right? Yeah. So like, I'll get other people's opinions sometimes to bounce off, which I think is a really valuable tool. Yeah,
definitely having that network around you of people who you can trust and go to with your ideas. But like you said there, like, far too many people will wait for the right time, or say like, oh, well, if I can do this, then I'll do this. And it's just like, just get started on the thing, like fail, then eventually fail again, and then you'll get it right. And it's like win or learn, right? If you don't get it right the first time, you're going to learn, and you're going to be able to win eventually.
Have I told you about when I lost $75,000-$80,000 on a tech team once?
No.
Okay, this is a good story. So I was another mastermind. It wasn't that great. It was like $50K a year. And they told me I need to hire a tech integrator. I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever you tell me to. And had to interview this guy. He said he was a nuclear submarine engineer. Seemed really smart. He was pretty jacked. I was like, he seems pretty cool. Told me he was like 10, 11 grand a month to work with. I was like, seems quite a lot, but you seem really good. And I was like, we're making loads of money. We had made more money than I ever fucking knew what to do with the month before. I was like, I got more money than I do. It's like, sounds good. We're going to the moon. And I then I told Aid and I told everyone else, like, this guy's the fucking best thing since sliced bread. They speak to him. They obviously think he's great because I said he's great. Yeah. We hired him. Month afterwards, he's like, oh, I need my team as well. So then our bill went up to like 20 grand a month. And then like 3.5, 4 months in, like, none of the shit we wanted done was working properly. So I pulled the plug. It was basically like 75, 80K later. We now have a VA who does the same thing for about $10 an hour. And we found out another way to do it. And that's where, like, I talk a lot about you win or you learn. Like, that was a really fucking big mistake. But, like, I learned a lot from it, and I'm glad I learned that then rather than in a year's time and it's got another zero on the back end of it. So you just got to take the hit sometimes. There's also what I could say to someone like yourself or some of the other guys who work with, like, yeah, that's definitely not a good idea, because there will be a reason behind that. Yeah.
And I think there's an element of, like, I'm young enough to almost make these mistakes and keep going. And I need to appreciate that a bit more. Like, I can keep learning and you know, make these mistakes and then eventually get it right, because I have the time and not so much responsibility. I haven't got family or anything like that yet. So it's like, you can keep make these mistakes and then learn from them.
Well, the way I look at it is risk to reward ratio, right? So actually, I mentioned earlier about I was going to buy a house, but I'm putting some money in cryptocurrency instead. Strategy for that, right? My opinion, I could put, let's say it's 100 grand, I could put 100 grand into crypto. It could 10x the next 12 months. 100, that's $1 million. A million is a significant amount of money I'd like. That would help me. If I put that into real estate and it went up 10%, okay, it's worth 110,000. Doesn't really change a lot for me. So it's like, is the risk reward ratio worth that perspective? Yes. And I look at the same way in terms of things of businesses, like that could work. How big is the upside versus how big is the downside?
Yeah.
And that's the game of like assessing risk. And also you have to look at the perspective like of your age, or even at my age, not that I'm old, but like you've got fucking time. So most people should take more risks, and I've taken a lot of risks.
Yep.
But you just have to think about it like this. This is the way I like to think about business, that it's like a two-way door. So like you can go through it and you can come back out.
Yeah.
Like a tech team, I can hire him, I can sack him.
Yep.
But you don't want something like there's like a one-way door that once you've gone through it, you can't come back.
Yeah. There's most things you can, like you make a decision, you can
undo it.
Yeah, you can. And you just have to accept that, okay, that wasn't right, on to the next.
One of the things you mentioned earlier was obviously you're very passionate and close to your family. How does it feel? Like you mention a lot of things all the time to me, which I really like, in terms of you like giving gifts to your dad and like helping your family. How does that make you feel, and how does that?
Yeah.
Is that, I would say that's your big driving force, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, the main thing. Going back to like the football days, my dad would drive me around all over the country. He'd take time off work. He'd travel around. And mum and dad would watch every single game. They would do whatever they could for me and my sister. And it's like I'm at the point now where I have the ability to be able to give back to them and thank them for that. And I think, without it sounding too deep, my dad's, he's fairly old, and there's the element of my mum, she's 10 years younger than him, and they want to do lots while they can. He's semi-retired, nearly retired, and mum hasn't yet. She's effectively still got to work, I guess, for like 10 years, but her worry is that when she gets to that age that she can retire, dad won't be able to do all the things they want to do. So the big driver for me is to bring my mum out of work, retire her, so that her and dad can then live and do everything that they want and give back to them for the time that they spent on me when I was younger. And like you mentioned there, the present, like last year was the first Christmas where I really could, being a uni student, you don't have much money, but last year was the first time I could really give to them, and it was the best feeling ever. And I don't know when this will go out, but I want to retire my mum next month. I feel like I'll be in the position to do it, and that will be like the best thing ever, knowing that I can buy her time back so that her and dad can just go and do what they want. And
I get fucking emotional even saying
that.
Like the ability for you to do that is fucking wild in terms of like fulfillment, right? Like I can't imagine how you'll feel at that point, and also how your mum would feel, because like that's a fucking wild thing, right?
Yeah, like it is emotional, but it would be cool. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel in the moment. Like I know I haven't told her yet. I've spoke to dad a little bit about it, but just knowing that like they'll have the opportunity now to just go and travel and do what they want, go and see places and experience things that they might not have been able to if I hadn't have done this. And that's just like a really cool thing to say that I've worked hard, and I'm still going to keep working hard to support them. And yeah, like if I always write my goals out, it's always like, what can I do for them? What can I do for family and my future self and my future family? And my parents are always at like the top of the list when it comes to setting my goals.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that you have to be selfish to be selfless. So like you, by putting yourself first, by say for example university, not going out, building the business, all this type of stuff, you then have the ability to be like selfless and then give back and provide for other people.
Yeah, it's like focus on yourself and be, like you said, selfish in the moment. An element of that was dropping the football. Like, although my dad would probably say like, forget presents and forget all of that, I'd rather watch you play football. But it was like, I know how much time I'm having to spend to football. If I actually put that time back into the business, I know where I can take it and then help you guys down the line. So that was part of that decision as well.
Yeah, which is pretty wild. From the experiences of living in different countries and traveling around the world a bit now, what's been the biggest takeaway that's maybe opened your perspective on the world? Because not many people your age get to see that.
Yeah. It's just the whole element of like what is truly possible and what's out there. Like,
thoughts on Dubai then?
Yeah, like crazy place, like wild. Like took me a good week to really figure everything out and get myself a little bit settled, but it's just like the convenience, the level people are at. you know, almost these things become normal because you see it all the time. But it's like, I'm from Ipswich, a small place, and it's like you don't see the stuff that you see in Marbella or Dubai. But it's like, I think you have to get yourself out of that place, because otherwise you're almost confined to that.
Big fish, small pond, right?
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer on, right, let's go put myself in the biggest pond possible, be the smallest fish, and just absorb knowledge, take on what you can from other people, and then grow that way. But I think you can only grow so far. Like, you're in that tank, right? If you're in Ipswich, you can only grow that so far. But get yourself in these places, the amount of growth that you can have and the potential is wild.
100%. And like, I think a lot of it is it breaks limiting beliefs, because, for example, a lot of people think there's a lack of resources in the world, but it's not a lack of resources, it's a lack of resourcefulness. Like, you're in Dubai, you turn up at like Banou's car park, there's millions of dollars of cars sitting there. I drive into my apartment building, there's fucking Bugatti Veyron. I drive past every day and I'm like, motherfucker. I was like, he's beat me. I was like, I gotta work harder. And it's those things that, like, it just raises your standard. And it's like one of those things that people don't understand is that for you to be successful, you have to raise your standards, and rather than like falling to like other people's lower standards. I actually even notice that when I go back to the UK, I just feel it almost like lowers. It sounds very arrogant. Not that I feel I'm better than people, but I feel like I'm ahead of a lot of people. Like, if I walk into a normal Costa Coffee, I'm like, it just makes you complacent in some respects. Whereas if I'm the same as you, I'd rather be the one chasing rather than the one being chased. Yeah,
and I just think it would just, like, I don't know who, a lot of people talk about it, is like, you do have to eventually move, like, friendship groups. You have to move out of places, and it's like, don't get me wrong, like, I still have my best friends from uni that I will see like a few times throughout the year, Christmas, birthdays and whatnot, but you have to move to that next group of people and surround yourself with people who are
aligned.
With what they're looking to achieve, but also they're probably ahead of you, so you bring yourself up towards their standards, and then you level up that way. And I think you do just have to move environment, and you have to move into different groups of people to really level up and achieve what you want.
Would you say that's something you did intentionally, or it just happened by default? Because people have asked that to me, and I just say I almost just naturally pulled myself away from people I knew weren't good for me, and I weren't aligned, who were going to hold me back. Yeah,
I mean, there was a bit of both. I'd probably say there are things I noticed. I was like, okay, I don't really want to get involved in that. Don't want to do that. That's going to hold me back from what I want to do. That could potentially get me in trouble. So it's like, consciously took myself out of certain things, but I think other naturally do just sort of gravitate towards wanting that next thing and wanting to level up a little bit. And I think it's a bit of both, I'd probably say.
100%. To start to wrap some things up, one question I'd ask you, I think would say we've had a pretty pivotal experience in terms of taking to the next level in terms of your business. What would you say have been some of the big impacts you've had from that?
In terms of
what we've helped with?
Yeah, I'd probably say building out a team, not like just doing it on my own. You can only go so far, your own bottleneck, right? So helping me build out a team, again, different avenues, different streams, breaking limiting beliefs, and I'd probably say just confidence in the fact that I can get to that level and I can go and do that. And it's like, knowing that you've done it and you've helped other people do it, it's like I'd be stupid to not just absorb that knowledge and go and implement. Like, you say, Harry, do that, I'll go do it, and then I know that I'll get to that level because you've done it yourself.
100%. And what would you say to anyone who's sitting on the fence about reaching out for help? I don't even know how we ended up working with you, but like working together, because we worked together since January. It's been a while, but what would you say to people? Because a lot of people are often scared to ask for help, or also they think they know it all.
I think they just need to try and appreciate what truly is possible if they do go and get help and go and get that knowledge. You know, you only know so much, and it's like, if you're a coach yourself, your business is about helping people and people coming to you for help. So why would you not go and seek help yourself? Like, there's always someone you can learn more from. And I think it's just breaking out of that belief that you're currently in, that you might be doing really, really well and you might be at the top of your game, but you don't know the half of it yet. When you can truly get in yourself in these environments, what is possible, you've just you just have to do it.
And I'd say that's the perspective shift people need. It's because, like, people think they're really big balls as a coach to make 5-10K a month, and it's like people make that a day. So it's like, and that's where people don't understand the levels of things sometimes, and that's ultimately what will hold them back from being successful, because they don't actually really see what the game is.
Yeah, completely agree.
Big thank you for your time today.
No,
where should people find out more about you?
Instagram, Harry Knight's Coaching. That's the main place I post stuff.
Make sure you go and give him a follow, because his content's really fucking good. There's loads of stuff you can not copy, because a lot of people do copy Harry stuff, and a lot of people copy some of that stuff as well, but you'll get some inspiration. If you're looking to scale your fitness business and want help with that, you can hit the link below this video and podcast and book in a free call to find out how we can help you. If this was enjoyable, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the podcast, and we'll see you next episode soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good, dude.